Okay, I want to just kind of touch on this materiality versus spirituality that Adam raised so importantly, and I think a view from the panel on that. I mean, most offices don't give you anything spiritual, do they? They don't have space for sleeping, they don't have space for naps in general, they don't have phone-free zones, places kind of offline. What's the panel's view? Where's it?
I just want to jump in on that because I think on reception, when we say spiritual, we don't mean religious, right? I think that's really clear. But I think that what we've just been talking about is profoundly spiritual. When you say reception, you could think desk, that means material. But you could also think hospitality, welcome, being called by your name.
Right.
I happen to know it's your birthday, Mr. Robarts. Welcome to Bloomberg. That is spiritual. That is profoundly warm, human, loving, kindness, love. Those are spiritual qualities. They're not material. So I think this idea of material and spiritual I find very helpful. But it's important that when we talk about spirituality, we talk about it in a very universal way. It's not limited to a religious view or a particular religious view.
There's Major League Baseball teams today that when you buy tickets to a Major League Baseball game, the day before the game, you get a very welcoming email that says, "We're so excited that you're coming to see the Atlanta Braves tonight. Here's the pitching lineup. Here's their stats. Da 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 da." The day after, or the usually by midnight or so, the night after the game, you get a whole. "We're so glad you came to visit us. Here's in case you left early. Here's how the game ended up. Here's what the stats are." And the first email tells you about parking. It's so well done, right? And that's an easy thing to do. So we're looking at for every guest that registers to come to see us, that they get that ahead of time. They get a welcoming email. They get a boarding pass just like you do for an airline. Gosh, what about think about your new hires. Same kind of thing. Could you have kind of a welcoming event for your new hires? What do they get ahead of time? How are they welcomed? Maybe they get a really great parking space the first 2 weeks. Wow, they really want me here. Look where I'm parking for 2 weeks. This is amazing. Why not put them next to the senior leaders for a couple weeks? That's one thing we're thinking about. That makes it, so it goes back to how they feel. Parking space, doesn't matter if they park here or there, but they're going to feel one way parking here and they're going to feel another way parking here, right? So, that's how we're really trying to think about everything we do and how does it manifest itself from the employee's view and or the guest view where they truly feel valued, because we're all going to be competing for the same pool of talent, right? And we believe it's a big differentiator.
And it's the little simple things that actually make the massive difference. And with Cisco, one of the projects we're doing for them at the second, this very thing relating back to food and the spiritual sort of emotive thing, is that the visitors, as a trial run, the visitors receive what the day's menu will be the day that they're visiting.
There you go.
And it relates straight bang back to food. But also like looking at the whole branding of the headquarters in terms of the start of their journey that Julie touched on earlier in terms of the building has a brand reputation of itself, so that generates excitement. A little touch like that, and then a little touch of the food menu, bang. The whole spiritual thing is completely changed in mindset, and it takes very little to change that.
I love the Jamie Oliver idea where he's going into the workplace and teaching people how to cook, because people don't know how to cook anymore. And I love that. I'm hoping we can try it at some point.
I'll put you in touch with Jamie.
Yeah. Great. So employees learn how to cook, and they teach other employees how to cook. We teach other employees how to cook, and we all start learning how to cook again.
I think that's a really interesting point, because actually I think the danger of, this is really grossly simplifying things. There is a great danger living in this part of the world that we become obsessed with consumption. The solution to everything is just consume more. And actually the idea of giving more, serving more, cooking for others more is, I think, a very important counterpoint to consuming more. And I think this is something that I have learned from the Chinese, and it's been very helpful to me personally.
I'd like to end this debate on kind of a last vision, and I want to go back to some of the contradictions during the day. We had a lot about this morning co-working and about the distributed workforce and about whether people should be coming back in, and Adam at Google gave that counter opinion. And Lee, you mentioned people boasting about the office, in your talk, being proud of it. And we've seen quite a few cool spaces from around the world, and it's a million miles away from many other corporates. As you saw, you walk into many corporate spaces, and they are the antithesis of this. So as a last thought, where are the kind of conflicts and the contradictions? Do you see people having a bit of both? Is it getting too far away from the corporate space? What's your vision for the future?
Well, I think for me, the summary of it is that, the desk came from the desktop computer, effectively, and the need to park your computer box and your monitor and so forth. And that as a basic, thing within office and work is really getting questioned for me. It's about pick up and go, it's about tablet work, and we all know that's going to have an impact on how we work. We're doing offices now where we're not flood wiring under floors for data, because actually a lot of people don't realise that Wi-Fi is quicker. So these things are putting a massive spin on what these places are as offices these days. And that's the thing I personally want to really turn upside down. Where people are, I think it's really important that they're actually back at these offices. Maybe we don't call them offices anymore, maybe we call them villages or communities or whatever label we want to put to them. But it's about people getting together, communicating, and yeah, you can do that through VC, but it's much more fun around the kitchen table, over a meal, and things like that, a bit more family orientated, back to the basics, but it's not about a desk anymore. And for me, get rid of desks. We can work differently these days.
I agree. I think, we get such opportunities on the West Coast to try these things. They're going to work anywhere. That's why I like to think of the entire building or the campus as a workplace. So whether you're out in the landscape on your iPad or whether you're down the street at the coffee shop, you're connected, you will need times for those face-to-face meetings. And you will need times away from people. So to me, it's that workplace variety that really needs to, that's the focus of the workplace. You hear companies like Y Combinator or 500 Startups where they take 500 of the best and the brightest from Stanford Business School and they put them in a space where they need to perform. And it looks like a co-working space with a variety of places to sit, work, go to conference. So I think we're seeing more and more of that. Most of it should take place at the headquarters, but the headquarters needs to morph into this different space.
I would just add to that I think there's always a danger of dichotomous thinking. It's either this or it's that. It's either we have a big office, which is nice and central and everyone goes there, or we have distributed working. But the wonderful thing, sorry, I feel like the Chinese ambassador here. I think one of the amazing things about China is it tends to have avoided dichotomous thinking. They're very happy with the gray area that accepts both at the same time. And that simultaneity, I think, is it just creates an openness, where we can experiment and see what works best for that. That's what I actually spoke to Adam straight after his presentation and said, how do you figure about this, everyone coming together, and you're also advocating coming together and the importance of the workplace. And then what about the distributed work? He said, at Google we don't have a policy about distributed work, working from home. If I want to work from home because my wife is away for the week, in fact she is away next week, I'll just work at home. We don't need a policy for it, we just do it, it's just flexibility. I thought that was just really delightful.
Judy, last thought?
Yeah, I think, we believe that certainly bringing people together is important. We are not on the end of the spectrum of Yahoo that says no teleworking, no flex work, all that. We do absolutely embrace that. It does sometimes, I think, matter, the job function. But it's all got to tie back to your business strategy and what are you trying to accomplish as a business, and make sure you are truly living the brand, and what does the brand mean? I think your workplace solution it will be a hybrid, but I think you got to make sure all that is tied together.
Well, on that note, I'd like to thank our panelists for a fascinating discussion. Thank you very much. Now we're approaching the end. Give us a few more minutes to wrap up. We're about to give away the iPad Mini, so hold on. While we just do a few wrap-up comments, if you could fill out your feedback forms, we would really appreciate your comments and your thoughts as we develop our Worktechs around the world. If anyone has a last form to hand in, if you could bring them to Luke at the front or pass them forward, that would be great. Have you all enjoyed Worktech? It's a really good day. I'd like to thank all of our 18 speakers, and also thank you all for making it such a great day. I'd like to quickly introduce Pat and invite Pat to the stage. Pat from Staples has kindly sponsored our cocktail evening, which will start immediately as we leave this space, hopefully on the terrace outside and in the reception area. So please stay and join us for some drinks. But Pat, say a few words. Thank you.
Yes.